So the jump ball in basketball, it happens once a game, not super frequent. Are we as well prepared to know the rules and how to adjudicate plays for jump balls since they happen so infrequently? No, we are not. Today we're going to look at jump ball play scenarios on video, 5 Play Friday Live. Stick around. Greetings and welcome to 5 Play Friday, the show where we look at video so we can become better as basketball officials. Greetings again, everybody. My name is Greg Austin with abetterofficial.com. We craft video to help basketball officials get better and take control of their officiating career. Now would be a great time if you find content like this valuable. Always consider subscribing. Hit the like button and the notify bell so you don't miss out on any of our new content. We live stream every Wednesday and Friday, and we'd be happy to see you join the show. So subscribe, hit notify so you don't miss out on any of our content. All right, fantastic. It's Jump Ball Week here at A Better Official. We are looking at all things, all attributes of jump ball plays so that we can completely understand the rules and restrictions on jumpers and non-jumpers, when a jump ball scenario starts, when it ends, etc., so that we can properly adjudicate plays when they occur on the court. Shout out to our channel supporters, Jason Hayes, Jordan Truppner, Kirtus Clanton, Keith German, and Patrick Hunt. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show, you can always buy us a coffee. There will be a link in the show notes below. All right, fantastic. So it's Jump Ball Week here at A Better Official. We had a masterclass on Monday. We had Basketball Rules Expert on Wednesday. There'll be a playlist to those two shows above and in the show notes below. Jump balls happen infrequently. We don't necessarily have our arms completely around the rules and restrictions for jump ball scenarios. So let's do this. Let's take a quick review. Restrictions on players. Article 1. For any jump ball, each jumper must have both feet within their semicircle. That's what this rule outlines. Article 2, when the official is ready and until the ball is tossed, non-jumpers must not move onto the center restraining circle, change position around the center restraining circle, and we're going to get more on that later. Teammates may not occupy adjacent positions if an opponent wants that spot. Article 4, the toss must be excellent. It should be perpendicular to the floor and go between the players and equidistant from the sidelines. We want a toss that goes straight up. Article 5, until the ball is touched by one or both jumpers, non-jumpers must not have either foot break the plane of the center restraining circle cylinder or take a position in any occupied space. Additional restrictions there on non-jumpers. Article 6, the toss ball must be touched by one or both of the jumpers after it reaches its highest point. If the ball contacts the floor without being touched, we should re-jump. And the restriction on jumpers. Article 7, neither jumper shall touch the toss ball before it reaches its highest point. B, leave the center restraining circle or their semicircle until the ball has been touched. C, catch the ball before the jump ball ends or touch the ball more than twice. Article 8 describes when the jump ball ends. With any of the restarts, we have to know when it starts, when it ends. A jump ball begins when the official releases the ball for the toss and ends when the ball contacts a non-jumper, contacts the floor, contacts an official, or contacts the backboard or basket. That is when a jump ball ends. As with all restarts, when the restart begins, a special set of rules that only apply to that restart come into play. The restart starts and ends, and after that, those restrictions do not apply. So obviously we have to know when a jump ball starts and when a jump ball ends. Here's the key scenario that we need to know to fully understand jump ball scenarios. There's a case play, 6.3.2, and it describes certain circumstances for non-jumpers. The referee is ready to toss the ball to start the game. A1, who was on the center restraining circle, backs off of the circle. B1 moves onto the center restraining circle into an unoccupied spot. C, B2 moves off the circle and goes behind A2 and is within 3 feet of the circle. Or D, B3 moves off the circle and about 5 feet and moves around and behind A3 and A4, who are occupying spaces in the circle. So this is a really good, sampling of things that non-jumpers can do, right? The jumper restrictions are pretty straightforward. Can't touch it more than twice, can't catch it before the jump ball ends, has to stay in their semicircle until the ball is touched. All of those things are very straightforward. It's the non-jumpers that can confuse us, right? So understanding what non-jumper restrictions are. So if we look at this scenario here, and we sort it into what is legal and what is not legal. It's legal for a player who's on the center circle prior to the jump to back off of the circle. That movement is always legal. It's not legal for a player to move onto the circle, but they can move off. And then D, that's the critical one. B3 moves off the circle about 5 feet and moves around and behind A3, who are occupying spaces on the circle. This is legal movement. This player moves off of the circle and moves behind 2 players who are on the circle. As long as their movement does not occur within 3 feet of the semicircle, of the circle rather, then that movement is legal. So let's look at the other 2 plays that are illegal by rule. B1 moves onto the restraining circle into an unoccupied spot. It is illegal for non-jumpers to move onto the circle. B2 moves off the circle and goes behind A2 and is within 3 feet of the circle. That movement is illegal. You can't move into somebody else's spot or behind that player and be within 3 feet of the circle. The 3 feet restriction is really critical to understanding the rules. So what I want to do is I want to take a look, right? Here's a simple jump ball scenario, right? Who's legal and who's not legal in this scenario, right? Let's do this, right? I see. Right? So we have these 2 players here. Player 1, player 2. A lot of officials look at these 2 players and they say one player cannot be behind the other player. Okay? What we have to understand is, I'm going to go here. What we have to understand is that's only true during the 3-foot ring around the center circle. That's only true. That's the only situation where players are not allowed. In this instance, these players are not within that area. This action here, legal. This positioning here, legal. This positioning here, it's close to on the circle. Let's take a look. If we add the circle in, those 2 players are close. You could say that they are on the circle if you wanted to. I wouldn't begrudge you that. That doesn't work. All right, so in this situation, which non-jumpers need to have any restrictions on their movement? Okay, that's the other thing. We have their position, Are there any restrictions on their position? Can they be any combination of these players in this scenario? They are all legal. Unless you are within that 3-foot circle, you are legal. You can run around, you can stand on your head, you can sprint up and down the court. Your movement has no restrictions, except a player may not move onto the circle. Okay, so just before the jump, one of the players in white thinks, okay, they're going to tap it back to the player in black, so I'm going to run onto the circle and steal the tap from up close. Illegal by rule. Okay, let's look at some other scenarios. Now look at this scenario. This is a high school game, right? All of these players are subject to the restrictions of players being within the circle. So our opponent cannot step in front of a player because they are in an occupied space. Okay? Very important to understand. This situation is going to be very different from a situation where the players are 20 feet from the center circle. Okay, so we've rammed through all of these. What is the penalty for any of these violations? Is the ball is awarded to the opponent nearest the spot of the violation. Since it's a jump ball scenario, we have not yet set the possession arrow. The possession arrow would be set when the ball is at the disposal of the thrower for the violation. All right, let's look at our very first play scenario. All right, so it is illegal for a jumper to contact the ball more than twice on a jump ball. In this instance, black is deemed to have contacted the ball twice, and again, a third time. Violation on black. Did white also violate? Possibly, but we know that black violated. We're going to award the ball to the opponent. In this instance, I feel like the players are done wrong. We're done wrong. The game is done wrong, right? This is fantastic action in the game. Two players competing in an athletic situation, but a violation by rule, right? The official, very clear with their communication about the violation. Excellent demeanor. We want to steal that. We want to incorporate that into our game. Clear and concise what we have. Violation, division line throw in. I think at the end he turns to the table, probably saying, hey, set the possession arrow to black when the ball is given to the player for the throw in, right? Something like that. Excellent. Really well done. Let's take a look. Did they, yeah, fantastic. So, do we reset the clock? No. The ball was legally touched. The clock should start when the ball is legally touched. There's just a violation on the play, and there we have it. So, excellent communication. Call correct. Let's move on to the next play scenario. Jump ball scenario, very straightforward. Green 22, he's excited, he's amped up, he wants to get the ball. He goes early and he contacts the ball prior to it achieving its maximum height. This is a violation on the jumper. In our previous play, we had a situation where the jumper contacted the ball more than twice, violation on the jumper. And now we have a situation where the jumper contacts the ball before it reaches its maximum height. Another simple, straightforward violation on the jumper. All right, we're going to riff off of that. Let's look at a another play scenario. Okay, that's an awesome play. Just, it's crazy, right? I mean, to see it. And the officials, you know, their brains as a crew are processing. Can this be legal? Right? Remember, one of the restrictions on the jumper is they must be in their semicircle until the ball is touched by a jumper. So this player exiting the semicircle before the ball was touched is a violation. Okay? And then subsequently they have an additional violation. They catch the basketball, which is also illegal because the jump ball has not ended here, right? The ball was tapped by their opponent, but we know that the jump ball doesn't end until it touches a non-jumper, the floor, an official, basket, or backboard, right? So this jumper has violated 2 rules. But our crew was not ready to jump on that and get that play right. This is an NCAA men's game. I'm assuming those are restrictions would apply. But what we would learn from this is that this would be illegal at the National Federation of High School Basketball level. A jumper may not leave the semicircle before the ball is touched on the jump. A jumper may not catch the ball before the jump ball ends. Okay. Let's look at one more jump ball scenario where there's a violation on the jumper. Right, very common scenario, very common for jumpers to violate in this fashion. They contact the ball once, they see the ball, they can't help themselves, they grab the ball. They've been trained to grab the ball as a basketball player. Violation by rule because they have caught the ball before the jump ball ended. All right, so now we've had a situation where we have looked at play scenarios where the jumper has violated. The jumper left the semicircle early, violation. Jumper caught the ball before the jump ball had ended, violation. Jumper contacted the ball before it got to its highest point when tossed by the official. That's a violation. And then jumper touches the ball more than twice. Touching the ball a third time, illegal by rule. Those are basically the 4 restrictions and violations that a jumper can have. Okay, so we've covered those jump ball violations by jumpers, and now we're going to move to non-jumpers, which can be more challenging and may bring about a question about, wait a minute, I always thought that was a violation and it's not, etc. Let's now look at play scenarios where we have violations or illegal activity by non-jumpers. Hey, can I ask you a quick favor? If you're finding this video content valuable, take just a second, hit the like button below. Really helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps to get the video in front of more basketball officials so that we can all get better together. Thank you. All right, we have a play scenario where the team has a set play off of the jump ball. To the 2 players near the division line, once the ball is tossed, sprint to the opposite end. The ball is tapped to a player in an intermediate position, and the idea is they're going to pass the ball ahead, get an easy basket, and start the game with a basket, right? So we need to not be surprised by the action of the non-jumpers when they start to sprint and say, oh, wait, they can't do that. They have to hold their spots. Because I always instruct the players to hold their spots, and those players didn't hold their spots or what have you. This is legal action. Remember, any movement by players who are not within 3 feet of the circle, any movement other than moving onto the circle itself is legal by rule. Legal. Okay? So in this situation, when these players, sprint down the court, team wins the toss, they're looking for an easy basket, that is legal activity. We need to recognize that, right? So now we've seen some legal action by players. Let's take a look at our next play scenario. All right. So this is the play that is going to cause the most conversation between officials. Some officials are going to say this is illegal activity. They cannot move on the circle. This player is not on the circle. This player moves off the circle and then moves around the circle, right? But remember our case play. Player moves off the circle, 5 feet from the circle, moves, legal by rule, not illegal. If this player had stepped in front and was within 3 feet of the circle, that would be a violation. This movement is legal by rule. This player's movement occurs outside that 3-foot area, imaginary area that would encircle the center circle. This is a high school game. This is a legal movement for National Federation of High School Basketball rules. Again, if we witness this play, we may want to have a reactive whistle like, that can't be legal, what have you. But we need to know what is legal and what is illegal. We're going to see things occur in the game, and we're going to think, oh man, I'm not sure, this, that, or the other thing. Unless we know that it's illegal, then it's legal by rule. Again, our rules book always defines things that are specifically illegal. It also sometimes defines things that are specifically legal, but it does not cover many, many instances, okay? So we know that a player may not move onto the center circle. This player does not move onto the center circle. Whether or not they are within 3 feet here, right, and at the very early part of the play, or not, that would be your judgment, but their backwards movement takes them off that area that is legal. Their movement around the other player is legal by rule. So let's not put a whistle on that play if it happens in our game. But boy, the other thing, of course, with jump balls, are we ready to officiate, right? We may be mentally ready to officiate. We're ready to focus, etc., but the game hasn't started. We haven't gotten our bearings straight. We haven't got a sweat going, etc., right? We're vulnerable at that moment for something unusual to happen in a jump ball play, and we're just not ready to, mentally process it and make the ruling. So we love it when we have something easy like a jumper catching the ball. I can figure that one out. All right. Let's look at our next play scenario. Right? We are always potentially going to become victims of reacting to a play, to not properly processing the play or not having a piece of information on the play. We need to know when a jump ball starts, when a jump ball ends. We know when a jump ball starts, it is released by the tossing official. When the ball leaves their hand, the rules restrictions have started when they release the ball from their hand. When the ball is contacted by a jumper, the first time, second time, not a factor. The jump ball restrictions still continue until a jump ball ends. When does a jump ball end? It ends when it touches a non-jumper, one of the 8 players on the court. It touches the court, or an official who's considered part of the court, or a basket or backboard, which are also considered to have the location of the court. Any of those things ends the restrictions. So on this play, has the jump ball ended when the player contacts the ball a third time? Clearly, white touches, doesn't hold, doesn't catch. The ball bounces on the floor, and the opponent contacts the ball. Touch. Oh, actually, they touch the ball, and then the ball contacts the floor. So it does not matter whether the opponent touched the ball or not. Once the ball touches the floor, the restrictions have ended. Once the ball touches their opponent, the restrictions have ended. There's no restriction against this jumper grabbing the basketball. So in National Federation of High School, this would not be a violation. This would be a legal play. Now, it happens in our game. The tossing official blows their whistle and says that's illegal. What do we do as a crew? Remember, if we kick rules-based decisions, we kick them as a crew, always. If we kick something, if we make a mistake with a rule, we have made that mistake as a crew. If we, have judgment, right? I judge that a block, not a charge. That's something completely different. But if we say, okay, we're going to shoot 2 free throws here, shoot 2 free throws there, and then take the ball out over there, or we're going to say that is a violation of the jump ball restrictions in this instance, and it's not, then we have made that mistake as a crew. So we always have the opportunity as another member of the crew, hey, partner, that ball touched the floor. That ball was hit by the opponent and then touched the floor. The jump ball restrictions have ended, right? I think we have an inadvertent whistle. We have to go with who had the ball when the whistle was blown, resume at that point of interruption, and go from there. Okay, so we always have that availability. We want to get plays right. And if we get rules wrong, we do it as a crew. All right, let's look at our next play scenario. Right. So tough angle to see exactly how far, but a player who is on the circle next to an opponent who's on the circle, the player on the circle jumps behind their opponent, and the official rules a violation. It could be a sudden movement like this, possibly a violation, but when would it be a violation for this player to move off of the circle and behind an opponent? It was clearly outlined in the case play we had before. If they move off the circle and around the opponent and not within the 3-foot area around the circle, that movement is legal. if they make that movement off the circle into an occupied space of an opponent, like behind them, within 3 feet of the circle, then it's a violation by rule. So tough for us to make any sort of definitive judgment about this play. It appears, remember when we looked at the jump ball circle with the 3-foot area around them, that's not a lot of space. So it'd be easy to see this player being behind that 3-foot area. And if they were, that would be legal by rule. But also, let's take something really strong, right? The calling official has a violation, right? He's very clear. I'm sure there was a lot of voice involved. If his partner's unsure, he gives a little this, that, and the other thing. I'm going to, make sure everybody knows exactly what we're going to do next, right? And that is what we want to do as basketball officials, is provide definitive judgment, etc. Everybody in the game, all the stakeholders in the game, appreciate officials who adjudicate plays with confidence. Whether they're right or wrong, if they're confident, that goes a long way. Now, if we know as a crew we need to fix something, then that's something else. But when somebody makes a ruling and they do it with strength and confidence, the game appreciates it. And it's easy for us in this situation to just move on and get the game started. All right, let's take a look at a bonus play scenario. All right. An exciting start to the game. Boy, oh boy. You step out of the court. This is a state final game. You step out on the court. You say, man, I am ready to go. And then this play happens right in front of you. Wow. All right. So let's take a look at a couple of things on this play and why this is a violation by rule. Okay. We know that players, first of all, let's take a look at a couple of things, right? Ants and elephants as well. Note the player in white nearest the camera. They step and break the cylinder with their left foot. This is an ant, right? The player opposite sprints through the cylinder to the other side in anticipation of where the ball is going to go. A great athletic display, super exciting and athletic play, right? But illegal by rule. The players on the center circle may not break the cylinder until the ball is contacted by one of the jumpers. So while it is, left the official's hand and is in flight up to its maximum height before a jumper can touch the ball, players along the circle may not break the cylinder. And that's what happens on this play. This is a violation by rule. Now, the other thing is we start the game, we say we're ready to go. This play happens in our game, and we are processing. We have to recognize something atypical like this happens. We need to process and make a decision. That is a violation by rule. That is legal. I'm not sure, right? But we need to go through that. So one of the non-tossing officials, or even the tossing official, right, can put a whistle on this play a second later, 2 seconds later, right? Once they've processed the play, we can come with a late whistle on a play like this and get the play right. Okay, cool. Very athletic play. Very athletic. Love it. Love it. All right. Okay, so now we've had a violation by a non-jumper, a different violation, right? Players on the center circle, and obviously a player who's not on the circle may not violate the cylinder. We've completed jump ball week. Masterclass, basketball rules expert, play scenarios, and now video, giving us a clearer understanding. We reviewed the rule to start, and we reviewed that case play, 6.3.2, was it? Which really breaks down the scenarios and clarifies movement has to be on that area, imaginary area around the circle. Movement has to be within that area. Players can always move off and around. That's really helpful to know. We know what's illegal by a jumper. We know what's illegal by a non-jumper. We're ready to go officiate jump ball play scenarios. In this era of COVID, maybe those go by the wayside somewhat, but there's still going to be test questions. So we want to be able to adjudicate. If you find content like this valuable, now would be a great time to do all the things. Like, subscribe, notify so you don't miss out on any of our new content, including our live streams. And share the video with other basketball officials so that we can all get better together. I'd like to give a special shout out to channel supporters. Jason Hayes, Jordan Truppner, Kirtus Clanton, Keith German, and Patrick Hunt. Much appreciated and much love. You want to support the show, you can always buy us a coffee. There's a link above and in the show notes below. All right, fantastic. Thanks for sticking with us today. With jump ball scenarios, we can become experts and get plays right. We have additional video, the other videos in the series. We have the masterclass Monday that we did on jump balls and basketball rules expert where we talked about play scenarios. Watch those videos and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.